Hey everyone, it's Michael. Today I'm going to be talking about Give Yourself Goosebumps, another one of these, because I just talked about one yesterday. Anyway, this is Give Yourself Goosebumps number 22. I finally found it on the cover because there's a sticker on the spine of the book and I couldn't tell. Return to the Carnival of Horrors. Now, yesterday I reviewed the first book called Escape from the Carnival of Horrors. And this was really good. I enjoyed this a lot. It wasn't like perfect or excelsior or amazing or anything like that. And neither is this one. This one is a fine, decent sequel for the most part. I have my nitpicks more than my actual complaints that are legitimate. This is kind of a nitpicky review, honestly. In a lot of ways, this book is a good, fun Goosebumps book. It's a fun Give Yourself Goosebumps book, even. For anybody who has been watching my channel, even if you haven't, I'll kind of give you a small update on how I feel about the Give Yourself Goosebumps books. For anybody who doesn't know, they're essentially choose-your-own-adventure books. You get to sit down and you make a choice on a page, and you either go to page such and such if you choose to do one thing, or if you choose to do something else, you go to page such and such otherwise. It'd be a completely different page. Rather than sit down and read the page from page 1, or read the book from page 1 to page 130, whatever. Most of these books that I've read, I've given like a 4 out of 5 stars so far for. They've been extremely creative, they've been extremely fun and enjoyable. Even the ones that I didn't expect to be that great, like Poison Lake, I believe is what it was called. Escape from Poison Lake, whatever the particular special edition was. I think it was like special edition number 8 or something like that. This particular book, in my opinion, out of all of the Give Yourself Goosebumps books that I've read so far, this is my least favorite out of those. Now, I've only read like maybe 7, maybe 6, 7, 8, something like that. And there's like 50 of these, so that's not really saying much. It's not saying this is like the worst thing ever, because it's not. Excuse me, I have indigestion. I have definitely read way worse, way worse Goosebumps books. Nightmare on Clown Street is a great example of that. This book is fine for what it is. I enjoy it, even as a sequel to Escape from the Carnival of Horrors, the first book of the Give Yourself Goosebumps series. I personally feel like this is kind of a letdown. That's just how I feel. I don't know why I feel that way exactly. I just do. I just feel like it's not anywhere close to being as good as some of the other books I've read from the Give Yourself line, or era, whatever you want to call it. It was fun, though. Basically, the story follows exactly what happened in the first book. It's the same character that you're playing as. It never gives you a name or anything. You're just called you, you know, always. It's just, you choose to do this, or do you want to do that, that kind of thing. The friend, Patty, the girl that was so bossy in the first book, she's in this book as well. And you have a cousin. I'm not even sure if the cousin is the same person that was the second friend from the first book. I'm not entirely sure. It might be, it might not be. I don't care that much, so I didn't look. But I'm just saying, I don't mean to sound rude about that. I just don't care enough. But essentially, there's you, your cousin, who's a guy, and then you have your friend that's a girl named Patty. The three of you are actually spending the night at your aunt and uncle's house. And the aunt and uncle happen to let you know, and it's almost been a year, by the way, since the last visit to the Carnival of Horrors in book number 1. You actually find out from your aunt and uncle that the next day, or the day of that you wake up at the beginning of this book, they're taking you to a carnival that's just recently opened up. And it turns out, once you get there and start looking around, it's the Carnival of Horrors. Now, that's one of the best things about the first book, in my opinion. The mythology and the lore of the Carnival of Horrors, where it goes, what it does, how it shows up. The way they put it in that first book, book number 1 of Give Yourself Goosebumps, was that it essentially, one day it can be in this particular town, and the next day it'd be an entirely different place on the entire planet. Which was cool to me. I love that idea. It's a really cool, creepy, weird idea for a carnival type thing. It was so neat. And in this book, they kind of keep that up. Well, apparently today is the day that the Carnival of Horrors came back. And you just so happen to be there, and so does Patty. And I'm assuming, again, that the cousin might be the same person. That was the third person from the book, the first book. Anyway, there's a lot of things that felt weird about this book. When you get there, of course, you run into Big Al, who is, of course, the kind of showrunner of everything from the Carnival of Horrors. You met him in the first book, if you happen to read that book. Big Al is just as weird and kind of bland, I guess, as he was in the first book. I didn't talk about him too much in my review yesterday for the first book. I just didn't think it was worth mentioning all that much. But pretty much you have to earn enough points by playing games and whatnot to go up against Big Al. And you're also at the same time trying to find your way out of the Carnival of Horrors. Whether your aunt and uncle get out of there or not, you don't really care. You and Patty and the cousin just want to get out of there, period. Plain and simple. So it's kind of just a rush to get out of there. You don't know if you're going to have to play all the games, or can you find like a sneaky way, like a back door or something to get out of here. There's all kinds of weird ways you can and cannot get out of this place. And of course these books have a bunch of different endings. And that was fun. It felt to me like this was the one that I read like the most stuff in. It felt like it had a whole lot going on. At one point I had like 10 bookmarks in this thing, because I try to go through and read every single page of the book by reading them, following all the different trails and stuff throughout the book, because I enjoy that personally. I had like 10 bookmarks in this thing today when I was reading it at work. I don't know. It really kind of let me down, honestly, because the first book was really solid. It was a really just a fun, cool book. And of course these Give Yourself Goosebumps books in general really are fun, cool books. They take up and kill so much time. It takes me like 3 hours to 4 hours to read one of these, because there's so much time to take in so many details and so much time to enjoy so many different angles of reading the book. It's very different from reading a typical Goosebumps book that's about 130 pages as well. And it's just fun. There was just such a fun time to be had here, and I enjoyed that too. But again, this feels to me like the least creative out of all of these Give Yourself Goosebumps books that I've read so far. You know, I've only read, like I said, 6 or 7 before this, and this to me feels like the least creative. It feels like the least passionate, especially compared to the first book from, you know, that this is a sequel to, Escape from the Carnival of Horrors. And one of the other things, too, that's kind of missing in here that really was weird not having this time around was how in this particular book there's no reference to any other Goosebumps properties like there was in a Carnival of Horrors, or Escape from Carnival of Horrors, the first book. In the first book you'd have a cameo from Slappy, you'd have containers of monster blood on shelves, you'd have all kinds of stuff like that. I kind of expected this to have that, even though the other Give Yourself books don't, as far as I know. I haven't read a single one that's had that in it until the first book. And that wasn't in here at all. And it really kind of surprised me that that wasn't a part of this book, because that was one of the coolest parts of Escape from Carnival of Horrors. It was just, it was wild. It was insane. I didn't expect to see other Goosebumps licensed characters and villains and stuff in that particular book. And yet it's not in this one at all. It really surprised me. It really kind of just put me off a little bit. It's almost like they lost the licensing rights to their own property. You know what I mean? It was just real weird. It didn't feel right after the first book doing that. And it's not like I expected this book to be good based around that. That's not the case. But again, it killed a lot of the creativity. There wasn't as much fun to be had here, in my opinion. There wasn't like the haunted house from the first book. There wasn't like the fun wild games. You know, there was like one that was like a saw blade, and it was like in a river and your little boat was going towards it. That was kind of fun. No Doom Slide of Eternity. None of that stuff. Nothing. No references to Horrorland. No references to other Goosebumps books at all. It just really did not live up to what I thought it could be, honestly. And I hate to put it like I'm just being so negative. I don't mean to come across like that. It's just disappointing. You know, it's kind of like Return to Ghost Camp. It just really surprised me how this might as well not be a sequel to the first book. It's kind of just whatever to me. Is it a summertime book? Yeah. Is it fun? Yeah, there's times in it I had a lot of fun. I just didn't love this. I didn't love it and enjoy it as much as I did the first book. Even though I didn't give the first book like a 5 out of 5 standing ovation type of rating, but I enjoyed it a lot. It was a really good Give Yourself Goosebumps book, and to have this one be so... I don't know what the right word is. It's just not as special as the other ones I've read. And I don't think it's a matter of getting burnt out on these or anything, like Goosebumps or Give Yourself Goosebumps or anything like that. I don't think it's a matter of that. I think this book genuinely was not as fun as other Goosebumps books I've read. And I've had this weird feeling before with things like Nightmare on Clown Street, where it's like I read them and I was like, why don't I like this that much? And I realized like it's just not that good compared to a lot of the great, excellent stories like you know, Camp Jelly Jam and Not a Living Dummy and stuff like that. You know, it doesn't come even close to things like that. But this is a great example of a book that is a sequel that really let me down, a lot like Return to Ghost Camp, as a matter of fact. That's one of the biggest feelings I can tell you that I feel so familiar with right now, is that I just wanted something, I expected something that was supposed to be really special, since this is a sequel to one of the best out of the series. And it's just the potential, just the bottom fell out. There was nothing special to be had here, really. But don't take all that to heart. Just try reading it for yourself. You might enjoy it. If this is your first Give Yourself Goosebumps book ever, you're probably going to have a good time. If your kid is reading this for the first time, as his first Goosebumps book or anything like that, he's probably going to have a great time. It's a decent Give Yourself Goosebumps book, but it's not special. Pretty much every one of these I've read, I've really liked and really enjoyed and really just rambled on and on about how creative and fun they were. Some of the best Goosebumps books I've read have been Give Yourself Goosebumps books. And yet this just does not have that special feel to it. As cool as the cover is with rides like this one, there's this scene with this roller coaster ride right here that has a bunch of ghosts on it. It's called the Roller Ghoster. That was a cool scene. That was a really fun ride sequence thing to enjoy. Other than that, there's not really anything special going on with this book, man. I'm really let down with this. Even the endings, honestly. Typically with the Give Yourself Goosebumps books, surprisingly enough, you know, choose your own adventure books of any sort, whether it be Goosebumps or just the old choose your own adventure books or the Oregon Trail books that are coming out now, typically they don't always have satisfying endings, even for the full-fledged, real, true, good ending. And Give Yourself Goosebumps always surprised me with that, because like every single ending you got was always fun and enjoyable and just neat. You know, you could have multiple good endings. You could have a lot of bad endings that could involve everything from aliens to plant monsters to anything. The possibilities were endless, right? Again, the creativity is really lacking here. Even the endings don't feel as satisfying. There's maybe like 1 or 2 or 3 in here that I really enjoyed out of like the 20 endings that are in the book. I was really let down with this, honestly, and I don't really recommend this as much as I recommend the first book. Again, Escape from Carnival of Horrors, fantastic, really, really fun book. Again, I have a review for that if you want to check out and see my more in-depth thoughts about the basic areas of that book, because I don't spoil books in my reviews. But yeah, when it comes to Give Yourself Goosebumps, number 22, Return to the Carnival of Horrors, I don't know how much I'd say I'd recommend this. If this is your first Give Yourself Goosebumps book, you're probably going to have a good time, honestly. But I'm going to be honest, there's better stuff out there from this era, series, whatever, for Goosebumps. This series can be some of the best Goosebumps stuff you'll ever read. It always has this funny and silly nature to it, but also scary, depending on which ones you're reading, like Escape from Camp Run for Your Life. That was a creepy Goosebumps book. That was probably one of the scariest books I've ever read in my life, but one of the scariest Goosebumps books I've ever read was a Give Yourself Goosebumps book. I'm really let down with this. I would love to hear your thoughts down below, folks, on what you think about this book in particular. What did you think? Was this better than the first one for you? It's definitely not for me, but still, what are your thoughts? If I had to rate this book on a 5-star basis, I'd give it a 3 out of 5. I know it sounds kind of low, but again, I think it's fine. It's a decent one. It's kind of a letdown, but if I had read this by itself and had not read the first book or did not know that it was a sequel to another Give Yourself Goosebumps book, I don't think that I would have rated it any higher than a 3 out of 5. I try to separate my personal bias and irritation with that and my nitpicks and stuff from, you know, I try to separate it from my actual feelings of how I would feel if I read this by itself. And I think this deserves a 3 out of 5, honestly. It was kind of a letdown. You can't always have home runs, though. You know what I mean? So I'm not completely bummed, because I know the biggest majority of Give Yourself Goosebumps, especially in the later books, have been good. I've really enjoyed those. So I know it's not always going to be a home run. This is one of the weaker ones. But it's not bad. Don't take it like that. It's not a bad book at all. Kids will love this. Adults who are collectors like myself will enjoy this. It's good. It's fine. Just don't expect a classic, honestly. If you're a big carnival person or a big summertime county fair, state fair type of celebrator for like the summertime months, you're probably going to love this. This is a cool book to read at the end of July. And yeah, it was fine. It was just fine. Anyway, 3 out of 5 stars for me, guys. What are your thoughts down below on my review and on the book itself? Thank you for watching. May the Lord Jesus Christ bless you guys today, and goodbye.